Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Shade and the City. I'm your girl Treese, coming to you a little bit earlier than normal, okay? To give you the recap for Wednesday's episode 41 of Beyond the Gates, as well as today's episode 42. So another double header for you. As always, I'll make sure I put a break in between. So for those who haven't watched today's episode, you won't have any spoilers and you can always come back, you know? But all my BTG Shade Squad, if you haven't already, please make sure that you hit the like button. Make sure that you guys subscribe as well. Because we just building a whole Beyond the Gates community over here. Okay. It's kind of taking over the channel a little bit. I ain't even gonna hold you, but I love it. I'm here for it. All right. I just wish I could get nails to participate. All right. But anyway, so let's go ahead, let's get started. And yeah, y'all, let's get shady. Okay, so we know at the end of episode 40, we had seen Chelsea come to Danny and basically ask her to be the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer for Chelsea Cat. However, Danny said no. And so we open up this episode, she's, shocked by her mother's response. And Danny says, look, although I'm very flattered, she was like, I was a little bit hurt that, by you ending your career, then that kind of ended our business relationship. She also realizes that, or at least in my opinion, she didn't say this, but I believe what she was trying to say, if I'm going to try to translate it for y'all, I believe what she was trying to say was she also realized that she missed the relationship, I think the mother-daughter relationship, and them working together, it wasn't beneficial to that. So Danny admits that she spiraled after, Chelsea ended everything. And Chelsea is confused because she's like, well, you played it off so well, like everything was cool. Danny tells her that, look, you're not Iyanla and you are not responsible for fixing my life. That's on me. So she's like, I'm ready to get my act together finally and ready to do it on my own. And I said, well, we've been waiting for Danny to have a breakthrough. So hopefully this is really true. Chelsea tells her, look, no shade, but I've heard it all before. And so she says, look, every time you took a step forward, you took 2 steps back. Hey, we go together because opposites attract. And look, y'all got a 2 for 2 songs. It ain't even been a good 5 minutes yet. But anyway, I'm messing with y'all. So Chelsea tells her, look, I recognize the value of, I realize and recognize the value of adding you to the team. And I'm just really scared. This is my baby and I just don't want to fail. Danny, was like, look, I appreciate your kind words, but I'm still not, I ain't got it to do. I'm not doing it. And so Chelsea is so confused and Danny is like, look, all right, so let me be straight up. Because remember, she told Chelsea that she had a secret. So she's like, look, let me be straight up with you. She said, I had a conversation with Pamela, and we've decided that we are going to start our own modeling agency. And, I want to have my own success on my own terms, as I want the same for you. And so she asked Chelsea, are you going to be okay with that? So obviously Chelsea, reluctantly is like, yeah, mom, I'll be all right. And if anything, I would have thought that Chelsea would be relieved, but I think that she also really, really started to, like she said, recognize how much value her mother could add. And she knew that her chances of failure would probably be almost non-existent if she added her mother to her team. So, but Chelsea tells her, look, I'm happy for you. So Danny tells her, it's time for us to find our own individual paths. And I appreciate you trying to help and bring me on board. And so but then she tells Chelsea, as I'm doing this, new venture, I want you to be my toughest critic. And if I start, pull me to the side if I start going off the rails. So, then they hug it out. So it was cute. Mother daughter come to Jesus scene, right? Because we needed it. We need Danny to do her own thing. I've been saying this for the longest. And Chelsea needs that freedom as well. So she don't get caught up like her mama. Now, Five Guys is telling Nicole, because remember, she has stopped her at the country club. And she's in the Sherry wig. Okay. So, we know her as Five Guys, but Nicole is talking to Sherry. And she's like, look, and there's something I want to tell you. And so Nicole notices that she looks a little shook up. So, and then meanwhile, Ted, had taken Eva, I guess, into the dining room to discuss, the surprise he has for her and these additional guests that he wants to add to the list. He tells her, look, I need to interrupt because I have to make a phone call. So Eva looks up and she sees Five Guys in the Sherry wig talking to Nicole. So when Ted tries to get up, she kind of stops him and pretends that, oh my God, I feel my phone vibrating in my bag and it must be ringing. It must be the jeweler people. So we cut back to Five Guys in the Sherry wig, and she tells Nicole that she plans to leave town for good. And I plan to turn my life around. And she said, that night on the roof, you really showed me something. She says, I found my purpose. And so Nicole was like, well, what, if you don't mind me asking, what is the purpose? Five Guys kind of deflects from answering that and thanks her. She knows what she wants now and she plans to get it. That's her purpose, I guess, is what she's saying. Nicole stops her again before, her trying to walk out and asks, well, can you tell me why you were released from the wait staff at the award ceremony? And then, of course, they cut, and I believe it went to like a commercial or something like that. Now, Eva is still pretending to be on the phone, but admits it's not the jeweler. So Ted is like, well, I'm gonna get up and make this phone call. I've been sitting here waiting on you. So Eva's like, oh my God. So she runs after him only to find him and Nicole talking in the lobby. No Five Guys, Sherry. And so Nicole tells Ted how, grateful she is that he's so involved with this anniversary party. And Ted brings up that he thought he saw her talking to someone when he walked in, and Nicole lies because she almost slips up and says, oh yeah, I ran into Sherry, but she already knows how Ted feels about her fooling with Sherry's crazy behind. So she just tells him that she was talking to a former patient. Now, all right, let me just make the disclaimer before we go into the scene. This is a Joey and Vanessa scene, okay? This is episode 41 was a heavy Joey Vanessa. And we got I'll say we got more than I wanted 42, but 2 as well. But so Joey pulls up on Vanessa to Uptown and, he invites himself to a seat at her table. He tells Vanessa that he's sad that their house hunt is almost over and he's looking for a way to extend their relationship. He tells her then that he wants to know, you know so much about me. I've been so forthcoming, lying about unalive mama and supposed ex-wife. And he's like, but I want to know more about you and your business. Of course you do. So Vanessa was like, oh, so do you want some private lessons? And we all know Vanessa out here booking private lessons. And I ain't gonna give it to y'all, but episode 42 that comes out, but we're gonna get there. Pace ourselves, okay? So Joey says that he's thinking of, no, I'm thinking of a more hands-on approach. So he says that he had came across a property in the commercial division of Petworth for all of our DMV locals, or especially people local to DC, the Petworth neighborhood. And so he tells her that he believes there's possibly some government redevelopment money involved, and he wants to confirm whether it's a good deal or not. So he suggests that they become partner on this, and he'll provide the money and she will provide her expertise. And of course, Vanessa is smiling ear to ear because she needs something to do. We know she's bored, and we know that not only does she need something to do, but she wants to do Joey. She's just fighting it right now. Doug runs into Andre at All Free Jeans. Andre is telling him that, I had this vision for the documentary and I want to document, why you're going through this challenge and not being able to perform surgeries and how that affects you. And of course, Doug is like, absolutely not. So, Doug realizes that he came off a little forward, direct. So he apologizes and he is like, look, this has been really hard for me. Just not being able to do my job. And he says, he's going to be in the cast for several weeks. So Andre was like, well, what are you going to do with your free time? Are you going to teach or, what are you going to do? Doug says he can't keep his mind off of anything but getting back into the OR. He tells Andre how he, gets a rush out of adrenaline rush, basically, out of performing surgeries. And then he has a flashback to Joey telling him he needs to be paid back. So on Andre's way out, he finds a scratch off on the floor. And so he's like, oh, I think you dropped something. And Doug's like, that's not mine. And Andre was like, well, it is now. And of course, Doug, feeling lucky, goes to scratch it and wins $50K. He's feeling good after winning this $50K. So Doug runs and goes to tell Randy and share the news about him winning his, $50K, and he feels like his luck is lucking. And Randy reminds him that you are in debt with Joey, and this will be a good time, or this is a good down payment on this debt. And Doug thinks, well, no, I can flip it and reverse it. Yeah, I'm from an if it's when, yeah. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, and then I can pay back everything that I owe him and have more. Y'all, he has a real problem. Okay. So he tells her that's thank God. I gamble, absolutely. But I am the person, once I am done, I'm not going back to the ATM. I ain't borrowing money from nobody. Once I'm done, I am done. And the most I'm playing with, I might give you my little $100. Outside of that, and I'm playing like $5-10 a hand. I ain't playing no $25 tables. Nah, this man got a real problem. And so, he knows that he can't use old boy Joey as his bookie, but he says that he has this horse that he's been watching. So he tells Randy, can you go find another bookie to put put some money on his horses? And of course, Randy being stupid. And I know I've said this before, and I know y'all are probably tired of hearing me say this. Okay. So bear with me. I am so tired. Can we just get rid of Randy already? At this point, I'm tired of hearing Joey warn him about helping Doug. I just want to be done with Randy at this point. I'm sorry if that sounds a little insensitive. I'm done. All right. DNA warning. If y'all want to skip the past, but I only got maybe this little sentence, so it's okay. It's going to be quick, fast, and to the point. DNA are at Ashley's house. They have the afternoon off. He want to do something. She want to chill. She's taking some compatibility test in a magazine. They realize they're not as compatible as they thought. And my notes say, I am rolling my eyes through this whole scene. Okay, moving on. Five Guys returns home mocking Nicole, and she's going about her purpose and says, Nicole will find out about her purpose soon. So Nicole and Eva are wrapping up their planning, and Nicole tells her, make sure you get plenty rest because the party is going to be a night to remember. And Eva's like, it damn sure is. And so Ted asks Eva, you make sure you got your phone. You ain't leave it back there in the kitchen. And so Eva's like, no, I got it. So Nicole starts to get hip, and she's like, what are you asking Eva about? And of course, she's like, I don't like no surprises. And Ted denies planning anything for her, but he does ask Nicole again. And y'all, I am not going to hold you. I want it so bad. And I know a lot of y'all don't because we needed to come out at this point, but I want it so bad for Nicole to take that bait. I was just sitting here pleading with Ted. Like, please, can we just go on a vacation? What they say, St. Bart's or something? Like, can we do that? I don't understand. But anyway, so he's like, look, can we just forget about this party and it just be me and you and go fly out to St. Bart's? Nicole is like, no, and why would we ditch all these plans and all these planning? Everyone's excited. And so Ted is just laying it on thick, y'all. It's like butter, baby, okay? He's like, look, I know ever since I almost lost you all those years ago, he said, I will never let go. Okay. And I just want a chance to celebrate that and celebrate how far we've come with just you. And can I tell y'all how fast I would have sent out that notification that the event has been canceled and been on a flight? And matter of fact, I might have boarded the flight first and then sent out the cancellation notice. Okay. So Nicole is like, look, we got time to celebrate after the party. And, it's a little too late to cancel. So she's like, I'm going to go see Laura in the hospital. And she's like, but I am still wanting you to take me on this trip. Don't get that twisted. Not get that twisted at all. And so he's like, okay, you can hold me to that. But y'all, I was really rooting for her to take the bait. All right, so let's jump over. Chelsea calls Kat and tells her that her meeting with Danny didn't go as planned, and obviously she has declined their offer. So of course she decides to relieve some stress by calling up her couple friends who meet her at Uptown, and they plan to have some drinks before they level up. Okay, and now Randy is getting calls from Doug, and he's like ignoring them. We don't know why yet, but back at Uptown, Joe is offering to show Vanessa pictures of the property, and he's like telling her to come closer. And so Randy finally calls Doug back and breaks the news that, look, your horse lost, and you done lost the whole $50K. So Doug is in disbelief, and he felt like this was a sure thing, but he's like, there's always tomorrow. He don't learn. And so then he's at Uptown and he spots Vanessa and Joey getting all cozy. Danny has called Pamela over to let her know that she is ready to move forward with the Dupree Curtis modeling agency. Confetti, okay? She explains how she broke the news to Chelsea, but she feels like she really needs this in her life right now, as we all know. She said she has not been this excited about something for a very long time. Pamela starts talking about all the things they need to do to get started. And of course, Danny has her own ideas, and she suggests a photo shoot and of course calls Andre over to do the job. They go through the photos with Andre, and Pamela is questioning, well, why are we doing promotional photos as our first move? And so Danny explains how, they need to get themselves out there so people know who they are, and Andre concurs with that. And so Pamela decides to go along and tells Danny, she's the boss, which of course makes Danny smile ear to ear. And Pamela tells her that, she's finally got her fire back like she wanted. And then Danny obviously has a flashback back to her conversation with Andre when, of course, he was, giving her pep talk. All right. So Eva returns home and tells Five Guys that Nicole told her to go home and rest. And Eva asks, well, she's like, why did I see you back at the club after I already told you to get out before someone saw you? And so Five Guys tells her that she doesn't know who Eva thinks she's talking to, but tells her she did what she said, and she came home and then got that Sherry wig and came back. That's not what she said. Eva calls her out for lying to her. Five Guys tries to play stupid, so Eva picks up the Sherry wig and throws it on the, I don't want to say nightstand, I'm talking about, a coffee table, and basically tell her that she's unbelievable. And so Five Guys is gaslighting her, and she's like, look, I don't care. I ain't trying to hear nothing you got to say because you're a liar. And so Five Guys, Leslie, in the Leslie wig, well, Leslie's ain't no wig, but Five Guys basically scolds Eva and tells her, well, how dare she talk to her like that? And she wasn't the only one that was lying. And then we end the episode with awkward love scenes between Vanessa and Doug and DNA. And shout out to friend of the channel, Really B. In her words, things we did not ask for. All right. So yeah, that was episode 41. So I'm going to break it here, and then I'll be back with episode 42. Now we kick off episode 42, and Tomas has rolled up on Kat at the country club. Kat talks about how he's well on his way to becoming a partner, so he should be, getting used and making himself basically comfortable, because this is going to be his new life. And he's like, I'm doing all right. whatever. So Kat tells him about Danny turning down the CMO position, and then she lets him know that she's online shopping for another spy camera. And she shares that she feels like setting Eva up on camera basically is the best way to expose her, which Tomas is like, okay, you're doing a lot. And then he's like, well, what do you think Eva's motive is? And so Kat explains that she thinks that it has something to do with her mom and dad, but she just can't put her finger on it. And she's like, and it's all centered around this anniversary party. So she feels like she might be too late, and says, but she feels like she is sitting back watching a horror film, yelling at the screen. And I said, that was a very good comparison, Kat. Shout out to you. And she wants to get to the bottom of who Eva really is. And so Tomas says, well, let me offer my help. And so Kat wants to know, well, how you can help. And then I think this is when, and I can appreciate Tomas being honest that he did have a conversation with Eva and that she did open up to him. And, while Kat was over there at the karaoke night, because y'all know I don't see it for Tomas, but I can appreciate his honesty in that moment. So I'll give him his things this time. And he lets her know that basically Eva, shared with him, she got pretty emotional, that she was talking about how she's kind of envious of the relationship between Kat and Ted and how it reminds her, or she wished she had that relationship with her own biological father. She, of course, he doesn't know who that is, but he does bring up Eva's surrogate mom, which we know is, and then Kat brings up Anna, because that's who she met. And Tomas is like, no, I'm pretty sure she said the girl's name was Leslie. So this, of course, gets Kat's wheels turning. Tomas then brings up Alan and how Eva was, well, Alan and how he wasn't nothing, and didn't treat Eva like anything. And then he starts to feel regretful and feel bad that he told all Eva's business. But Kat is like, no, thank you, and I'm gonna thank you later, properly. Okay. She says she plans to go find out who this Leslie is. And Tomas is like, well, you sure you don't want me to go with you? Because if you think they're sketchy, I don't want you, doing that by yourself. And she's like, nope, I got it. I'm going to go alone. And I said, Kat, not smart. I mean, I don't think it was smart because we know Five Guys is, we see what happened to Laura. Okay. Now, Nicole, speaking of Laura, perfect segue. So Nicole stops by to visit Laura, and Laura talks about how Shanice had just rolled out the last floral arrangement that Nicole bought her. If you guys remember, Eva had showed up when she was trying to get all that information from Shanice, and Shanice told her she was nosy. She had dropped off that bouquet saying it was from Nicole, and apparently even left a card. Well, Nicole lets her know, baby, I didn't buy this. So she's like, well, Laura's like, well, look, I know I'm in the hospital, but I ain't crazy. She's like, the card's right there. And, they go to arrange, well, the card was still there. So Nicole reads the card and realizes, and she's like, look, I'm sorry, but this wasn't me. And she said, well, maybe Eva did it on my behalf. But you could tell that she's starting to get suspicious. So then she starts asking Laura questions about what Dr. Flannery said about the potassium in her system. And she tells Laura that, she looked at her charts when she got there, when she first was in, and there wasn't any issues. And the fact that it was only that one day and then it went back out her system, just makes her feel like, there's some suspiciousness going on. Nicole thinks that, if someone had done it to her, they would have caught it. And then Laura just, goes in talking about being ready to get back to work. So Eva calls Five Guys a diabolical, pathological liar. And so Five Guys tells her, how dare she disrespect her? And Eva's like, look, I'm trying, but you keep going off the plan. And Five Guys is, look, like she's still denying, and you didn't see me. You saw Sherry. Eva tells her that she's confused. And I love when she said this. Shout out to Eva. She says, I hope you know that you changing wigs doesn't make you unrecognizable. And I said, I'm happy somebody finally told her. Because again, that's how we got Five Guys. You're not fooling anyone. And shout out to Princess Diamond Cut because she knew the assignment. I know some of y'all wheels are still turning, but shout out to her. She suggested that we name Leslie Pick Six. Okay. When once she or Five Guys, we turn her into Pick Six once we pick up whoever this new character is gonna be, because we know we get another one. We just do. Okay. Just is what it is. But so yeah, shout out to you, boo. Thank you. Basically, Five Guys just tells her that it's just theater, and Eva questions why. Well, why are you lying to me now? And she said, well, look, I'm just returning the favor because you've been lying to me. And Eva's like, I don't know what you're talking about, and I don't know what you think you know. And so she brings up the text to the cake vendor and how we know she went to Eva's phone, and she admits and lets Eva know that she went through her phone. Eva tells her, well, I lied because I didn't want you to be upset. And so Five Guys is like, well, I don't know why you would think I would be upset when I'm the one that told you to get close to Nicole, and I'm the one that got you this job. And I said, oh. So Eva says, look, they shouldn't say things that they can't take back. She gaslights Eva and tells her that all she cares about is what she thinks, and wants to know, that Eva doesn't believe that she's capable of all these horrible things that she's brought to her attention. So Eva tells her that she keeps lying because she keeps taking these risks. And Five Guys says there's a method to her madness. And she says Ted and Nicole need to look back and see how she played and toyed with them. And she feels like she's making her revenge sweeter, and asks Eva, can you please just let me have this? And so Eva's like, fine, I won't hold your crazy ass back. All right. So now we see Joey go drop in on Randy again. I'm rolling my eyes because I'm annoyed with Randy. And Joey apparently got people everywhere because he lets him know, hey Randy, I got a phone call letting letting me know that you've been placing bets for Doug with outside bookies. So Randy, of course, fesses up to it and tells him it would be a win-win for him. He thought it would be a win-win for him. Joey says, no, I want to own Doug's debt. And so he has already called Lazarus, I guess, which was the bookie, to let him know that, Doug and his debt belonged to him. He warns Randy again to lose whatever nostalgia he got about this childhood friendship with Doug. And Joey reveals that he's about to start playing house with Vanessa. And so Randy's like, well, what you mean playing house? And, he said, I'm going to be using her business to clean up my money. And so Randy isn't convinced that Vanessa will play ball, but Joey is convinced because he feels like there's a dangerous side to Vanessa. And now that we go back and we're, with Vanessa and Doug, and, they finished their night of passion, and he feels like they've, kind of gotten their spark back, and Vanessa agrees. And she wants to know what got into him. And he has a flashback to her conversation, seeing her, talking to Joey. And he tells her that, she had a look on her face like she was thinking about somebody when she walked in. And of course, Vanessa lies and was like, oh, of course, I was thinking about you. And he was like, you hadn't seen me yet. And I said, well, I got Doug, I gotta give you that one. And so she's like, oh, well, you know how I am when I, after I make a sale, I just get really excited. And then they reminisce on their past together, which I'm not going to go down this road with y'all. Because again, it's things we did not ask for. And, Doug does kind of admit that, they've kind of grown distance after the kids left, and he pretends that he got a phone call, or he gets a phone call and he decides to get up and leave. And so Vanessa makes a call, to book some company for some hours. Okay. Now, we jump over to Bill and Haley, and Haley comes into the room, and Bill was like, oh, you're glowing. And Haley wants to have a drink, and Bill expresses his concern because, again, he's thinking that she might be carrying his baby. And Haley lets Bill know, well, no, I can't actually drink because I'm not pregnant. And so Bill does seem a little disappointed. And so Haley's like, well, are you relieved? Or, now that I'm not? And Bill was like, I'm not. Haley wants, and she was like, well, I want you to be honest about how you feel. And Bill was like, well, look, when I first started thinking about it and about starting all over, no, it wasn't at the top of my list. But now that we've, discussed it, and I've started to put thought into it, and, I wouldn't mind seeing what a part of you and a piece of me looks like, right? And so she's like, "Oh, so you were looking forward to it?" And Bill admits that he was. And so she's like, "Well, and then he's like, "Well, I guess we don't need this college fund." And so she's like, "Well, maybe we will, and we should just, start working on it." And so of course we see them run off to the bedroom. And so now we know, like I said, if she's not pregnant, she was going to make sure she gets pregnant. Okay. Five Guys talks about, so we hop back over to Five Guys and Eva. And she's telling Eva, like, "Oh, we got 2 more days or 2 more nights before the big day," right? So she runs out to go get milk, and then there's a knock at the door, and of course it's Kat, who lets herself in. I kind of like how she just slid in there. So Kat lets her know that she's heard about her surrogate mom, Leslie, and Eva wants to know, "Why are you here?" So Kat tells her that she's there to apologize. I do like the way Kat played this. I do like the way Kat played this. She tells her she's there to apologize and says that, she was jealous of the instant connection with her parents. Eva wants to know if Kat put her up. I mean, if Nicole and, Ted put her up to this. And Kat tells her no. But my parents would like it if we call a truce. So, she admits, "I do have everything. And Tomas and the great life and the great business and the looks and the clothes, the house, the cars. I got it all. And you ain't got nothing." So Eva questions whether they can, be sister, or can we be like sisters? And Kat says, let's just start by hitting the reset button. Eva goes to grab her phone from her bedroom when Kat is walking around, and she notices the photo of Eva and Leslie together, and she decides to snap a picture only for Leslie to walk in and question what the hell she's doing. So Eva comes out and introduces Leslie, and then Kat has her flashback to meeting Anna and quickly leaves. And so, of course, Five Guys is curious and is asking Eva what the hell is going on. Now, Doug has found himself back at the casino. Randy starts to get on him about, "Why are you here?" And Doug claims that, "I'm testing myself." He's like, "Where's Joey?" And so Joey is actually with Vanessa at Uptown and tells her that, he rolls up on her and lets her know that you're better than paying for escorts, and said there's plenty of men that would do it for free, including him. So of course Vanessa's embarrassed um and a little kind of like, "Oh, how dare you come at me that way." So she threatens to slap him, for even suggesting such a thing. And Joey reveals that, "Look, I own the escort service that you have on speed dial, and I'm here to fill in. I'm here to fill the position." I said, "Lord." And so Vanessa's like, "Oh, well, do you think less of me?" And Joey says that she's intriguing, and he thinks that she doesn't love her husband anymore. And if y'all were on the blue sky today when I was live skying, I said, "Please, can we let Vanessa divorce Doug? I'm over it. I'm ready to be done with this. Can we just see them get divorced and then her get caught?" I actually would prefer to see her get caught up with Joey and whatever foolishness he got going on. I know some of y'all may disagree, but that's why we're here. Dialogue. Okay. Meanwhile, Doug is telling Randy that he can't believe he just lost that 50K and admits, he has everything to lose. And he's like, "I don't know what's wrong with me." And so Randy tells him, "You can't fix what you can't face." That is the only thing that I can appreciate Randy for. Okay. Doug thanks him for having his back, even if it put him in a bad position with Joey. And then we see hop back over to Joey and Vanessa, and Joey tries to make Vanessa realize that basically her affairs may have to do with the fact that she's not in love with her husband anymore. And Vanessa tells Joey about, their recent night of passion, TMI. And he's like, "Okay, so you just had a hot, steamy night with your husband and then got on the phone and called the escort? That's common." And she says, "You know what? I just like the way things are." And Joey tells her if it was up to him, she would never be disappointed. I said, "Well, talk about shooting your shot, brother." Laura makes this toast, pretend toast with Nicole, of all the things that she would have said at the anniversary party. And you can tell that, she's missing work. And feeling like her position may be up for grabs. But Nicole promises her that, you know, she is part of this family. And she promised her that once she's back, she can have lunch one-on-one with her and Ted, and vows to find out who's responsible for hurting her. All right, y'all. So that was episode 42 of Beyond the Gates. I think I did good. I got both of them done in what, 30? Well, we'll say after I do the outro, maybe 38 minutes and some seconds. All right. So yeah, y'all, I appreciate you being here. I have to get on the road and go get my baby this evening, so I have to make sure I get this out to you because I won't be able to edit tonight. I have to drive all the way to Greensboro, and probably not gonna get there till like midnight, 1 o'clock. So, but yeah, y'all. So if you haven't already, please make sure you hit that like button for me. Make sure that you guys comment. Make sure that you subscribe, and make sure you hit the notification bell. Make sure you're following us on all the platforms. That's the TikTok, Blue Sky, especially Facebook, and the IG. And I will catch you tomorrow to round out this week of Beyond the Gates. You guys have a good night. Bye-bye.